Welcome to Channel Make your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Karl, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side, so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Now today's topic, I'm going to talk about this. Now obviously a lot of you may agree and some may not. Is that stop blaming the migrants. Stop blaming international students. Now obviously we have just gone through a 2 years of COVID-19 pandemic, and as the economy requires, we have seen that in 2022 there is a job and skills summit, knowing that a lot of stakeholders, industry bodies require more skill and talents to come to Australia, where Australia has been suffered with the skill shortage, didn't we? However, as the immigration door started open, get all these talents coming into Australia, now there are some voices out there start talking about, there's just too many migrants, too many international students, and they are causing problem in Australia. Have you heard about that? Have you seen those kind of news? Now, I'm really sick of those news. I've been living in Australia long enough to know some stuff is not really the key issue there. Now, first of all, I wanted to ask all of you, the viewers watching my video, and you may want to share this video to all the other friends around. Ask this question. In fact, going around your neighborhood, going into any cafe and restaurants. Now, do those cafe and restaurant hire or employ any migrants, that including international students, including employment sponsored working visa workers, including anyone who has not obtained permanent residency or an Australian citizen? Just think about this. Now, you may come to a sense that migrants and skilled migrants and talents are everywhere. They're not just in the restaurants. I'm just giving you a little of understanding of the fact of Australia. You're going around major cities, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Adelaide, Perth. You go around restaurants and you start questioning, do you hire or do you employ any migrants in your business? And not just in the hospitality sense, going to hotels, if you're going into any other industry, fishery, architects, construction industry. Think about this. They're everywhere. So why is the media and why are there some group of people started complaining? And you may see news like this very recent news article saying the people versus big Australia. And again, I think it's a very attractive title, but look, over the past 20-30 years there has been something that the government of Australia has been lack of doing, and we should really face those kind of issues. So ALBO obviously is the short name for Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia's housing crisis. Now, did the housing crisis actually just happen because there were just too many people coming to Australia? And does Australia need these people, or do we just tell them to go away? So obviously recently we have seen some news about more than 650,000 people coming into Australia, and does that contribute really to the housing crisis, or is it because of the 2 years of pandemic that really the construction industry is not really doing anything, and plus the rise of cost and that obviously resulted with numbers of major construction companies going down, and that causes a housing crisis. So we got to really looking into the fact and what really requires and what is actually out there. Now, obviously, Australia is a large, very, very large continent. Everybody will actually agree to that. It's the 6th largest continent in the world, and where it only has, its own citizens of Australia is 25 million citizens of Australia. So far, Now compare against the mass land require and the economy require, it's still, the population is still very low compared to a lot of other countries. Now, I haven't heard any other countries complain about migrants though. For example, Japan, do they complain about migrants? I don't think so. I don't think so. And especially these migrants are coming with the talents and skills to help the economy. If it's migrant coming, for example, in USA, the only issue with the migrant there is people coming from the southern part of border. They're coming illegally. Those are the problem. But does Australia have those kind of problem? I would say yes, but very, very minimal, because that doesn't really have any connected border to any other country. Anyone want to come to Australia required to come in either from airplane or coming with a boat. So it's actually very hard to come illegally into Australia. So, and Australia doesn't have those kind of issue that America has. It also doesn't have the issue what the Europe has with those refugee coming from northern part of Africa, or coming from the war between Ukraine and Russia. So it doesn't have those kind of issues. So why would actually Australia, having said about the housing crisis and that connects to the migrant, look, I don't really understand. I think it's just a pitch of how the policymaker and want them to actually ditch other side of the field. But I still have confidence in Australian immigrations, as I see the reason, as you see the coming up global recession. As I said many times, if you're looking in the past and histories, as long as there is an economic issue or crisis coming up, immigration policy is always the way. And plus, we got to remember, the world is getting an aging population. It requires more and more talents to come into Australia. Plus that we have just foresee that the National Reconstruction Fund. Now what does that mean? That means a lot of advanced technology industries coming to Australia and obviously need more talent. So talking about big Australia, talking about housing crisis, I think that just deviates the actual issues. So what was the issue there? Let's have a look. Now Australia has been talking about high-speed rails. I mean, look, over the past 20-30 years, I cannot say that Australia doesn't contribute enough in the public infrastructure constructions. They did. They have done some very good infrastructures. But why didn't they do high-speed rail going in the eastern part of the eastern border of Australia, going across from Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne, connecting all the major cities? And obviously, the high-speed rail is not just to connect for the major hub, but between the major cities, those regional places will be boom as well, and that will actually facilitate and help the regional. So we don't want population to all go into major cities, correct? I agree with that. But you need to get the infrastructure right. You need to get those infrastructure to regional. So these kind of infrastructures, what have Australia done? And this news is back in 2017. Now I can dig more out information back in 2020 or 12, or perhaps before that. They have been talking about high-speed rail for 20 years and nothing really has been done. And why wouldn't migrants go into regional area? Because the accessibility, it's just too inconvenient, and there's not enough jobs and works over there. And that's the fact, because if you don't have the public infrastructure right, you always have that problem. You always coming back to the housing crisis, because people always want to go, all the business people, not talking about the migrant investors, but the local investors, the Australian investors. If they want to start small, medium-sized business, they will go to the major city. They are not going to go to regional places. But if you do have something, high-speed rail, set it up, going across Australia, well, I doubt that people go there, because it's gonna be more advanced and more convenient. Think about this: if you can live in Sunshine Coast and take about a 15-minute or 20-minute high-speed rail into Brisbane CBD, why not? Why do I have to jam pack? Or think about if you can live about 2 hours away in Newcastle and take about 30 minutes high-speed rail to Sydney CBD. I would prefer living in Newcastle. It's beachfront, beautiful places as well. right? So if you can get that connected, why not? Why not? And we looking into more news is coming. This is back in 2020, May 25th of 2020, and the title says what? It says Australia should abandon its dream of high-speed rail along the East Coast, report suggests. I don't understand how these the specialists came up with those kind of suggestions. If you look at Europe has a most advanced network of high-speed rail and train and rail structures, making it so convenient. And you're looking in the major hubs in Asia, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, China. Everybody's got that. And I don't know why over the past 20 years Australia has really done that. Well, perhaps it's just not enough, economy to be big enough. Now, talking about this, you want to wait for the economy to be big enough. Of course, then you get more congestions until a certain point. Then you implement high-speed rail. Would that be too late? Right? Now, another thing I wanted to mention is universities. Now, obviously, we want population to grow in regional, not centralized in a city. Agree? So we wanted to avoid the topic of things such like this, housing crisis, and talking about all the major cities. If we want to avoid this, then we want the population to go elsewhere. We want population to go regional. Correct? Now think about, and they all talk about international students. Now, if you're an international student, you choose a university to come to Australia, and that's pretty obvious. So where are those universities? And has Australia done something about privatization on the higher education? Well, they have. That there's only one. There's only one uni called the Bond University in Gold Coast, and all the other universities are not privatized. And where are they? And let's have a look. Now, no wonder all the internationals goes to those major cities. Now, first one, let's have a look. Melbourne. Melbourne has how many universities? They have 9 universities just in Melbourne CBD, and not counting on the TAFE. So Australian Catholic University, Deakin, La Trobe, Monash, MIT, Swinburne, University of Melbourne, Victoria University, Federation University of Australia. 9 universities. So if you're an international student and you wanted to study those universities, where would you stay? You're not gonna live in Geelong, right? You would live in the CBD of Melbourne. And so what's going on, right? And you're talking about too many international students, too many migrants in the CBD. Now let's have a look at another major city. Sydney University. In Sydney, how many of them? Okay, Australian Catholic University, Macquarie, University of New South Wales, University of Sydney, University of Technology Sydney, Western Sydney Universities. Now, how many of them? They are. So if you wanted to pick those, and you wanted to study those universities in Australia, and of course you pay the tuition fee, you get the student visa. Where do you go? You're not going to go to Newcastle. You're not going to go to Wollongong. You have to go to Sydney CBD, right? So all these international students will go there. So why didn't the government promote perhaps privatization of university and get those universities to set up campuses elsewhere to be regional, so they can actually attract more students there, and the university will actually come to say to the government, well, because there's no proper infrastructure going to those regional places, how am I going to set up a campus there and attract students? Right? So are we awakened now? Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this topic in regards, because I've seen this phenomenon and this kind of topic yo-yoing for the past 20 years. They come and go. There's always people coming in and saying and putting a media article about, there's too many migrants, too many international students, housing crisis. They've been talking about this for 20 years. Now, what is the key to actually resolve this? Of course, not to reduce. I mean, having a better education and attract international people to come to Australia to study, it's a good thing. Everybody will agree. But then where is the public infrastructure going to regional places in Australia? If that can be done, university can relocate. They have the new campuses elsewhere to actually attract more international students, and obviously the population will then be deviated from the centralized CBD of Australia. Wouldn't you agree? Anyway, should you have more question or query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below. Let's see you next video. Goodbye.